Hi friends, welcome to this lecture on pharmacology. We are now seeing the cardiovascular pharmacology. Today we will see the drugs used in hypertension. Now we know that hypertension is a disease which is uh, very much there in our population. There are two types of hypertension. One is the primary hypertension where we don't know the cause, whereas the secondary hypertension is usually caused due to some other reason as a uh, consequence of that original disease. Maybe because of some renal problem or some endocrine problem, there can be secondary hypertension. Now, what is blood pressure as such? Blood pressure is a product of cardiac output and peripheral resistance. Blood pressure is the lateral pressure which is exerted on the wall of the blood vessel, and it is regulated by two factors. One is the cardiac output and the other one is the peripheral resistance. Cardiac output depends on the contraction of the heart, whereas the peripheral resistance depends on the whether the blood vessel is constricted or dilated or it is in normal state. So that is how, if these two factors they vary, there will be variation in the blood pressure. Now, what is the normal blood pressure? Usually, we see that 120 systolic is the normal blood pressure as a systolic blood pressure, and 80 diastolic usually is considered as normal diastolic pressure. Now, 120 to 139 is the pre-hypertensive state. That is 120 to 139 systolic and 80 to 89 diastolic. This is the pre-hypertensive state. Then stage 1 hypertension would be 140 to 159. That is 140 to 160. In this range, we say that it is stage 1 hypertension. When systolic blood pressure is 140 to 160. As well, the diastolic pressure should be 90 to 100. And then stage 2 hypertension, that is we call as moderate hypertension, when it is more than 160 systolic and 100 diastolic. And severe hypertension can be above that, 200 systolic and 140 diastolic, that is severe hypertension. Okay. Now, in fact, hypertension, if it is untreated for a prolonged time, it can cause many of the organs to suffer. Now, right from the heart, which is responsible for maintaining the blood pressure, many other vital organs like brain, where there can be cerebral hemorrhage, there can be stroke. In the kidney, there can be chronic kidney failure because of sustained hypertension. Then in the brain, there can be hypertensive encephalopathy. There can be retinopathy in the eyes because there is sustained hypertension. There can be hemorrhages in the retina. Then there can be peripheral vascular disease. There can be aortic aneurysm. There can be left ventricular hypertrophy of the heart. There can be myocardial infarction or coronary artery disease, and ultimately there can be heart failure also. So all these are the consequences of untreated sustained hypertension. Hence, it is must that hypertension should be immediately treated as soon as it is detected. Now, in the modern medicine, we know antihypertensive drugs since about 100 years ago. Initially, there were veratrum alkaloids and thiocyanate. They were used for treatment of hypertension. Then in 1950-70, there were reserpine, guanethidine, alpha blockers, methyl dopa, etc. They were invented. Then came the beta blockers. In 70 to 90, it was the advent of angiotensin converting inhibitors. So they revolutionized the antihypertensive therapy. Angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. After 2000, we got the angiotensin receptor blockers. And then the calcium channel blockers also arrived on the horizon. So with that we come to the classification. We always classify the drugs and then accordingly we describe each and everything. So first group of antihypertensive drug is the diuretics. Now the diuretics, they reduce the blood volume by excreting the excessive water in the blood, and therefore by reducing the blood volume they will reduce the cardiac output. As we know, it is a product of cardiac output and peripheral resistance. So we reduce the cardiac output, we can reduce the blood pressures. So that is how diuretics can be useful in reducing blood pressure. Some of the diuretics, they also cause vasodilatation like hydrochlorothiazide, indapamide, etc. So they are not only diuretic but they are mild antihypertensives also. Then the next group is ACE inhibitors, that is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. They block the angiotensin converting enzyme, that is the enzyme which converts angiotensin 1, which is a potent vasoconstrictor precursor, into angiotensin 2, which is the potent vasoconstrictor. So if the vasoconstrictor is not synthesized, then there is no hypertension. That is the basic behind this. So these drugs are captopril, enalapril, etc. Then 81 receptor blockers, that is the angiotensin receptor blockers. So even if angiotensin 2 is formed in the body, it will act on the receptors. So if we block the receptors, they will be preventing the blood pressure, hypertension. So that is losartan, valsartan, these are the 81 receptor blockers. Then there is DRI, that is direct renin inhibitors. Although they are not much popular, we have to remember them. It is aliscren, that is DRI. Then we come to the group of sympatholytics. These are the older drugs. In fact, they act on the sympathetic system. They inhibit the sympathetic activity, and thereby they reduce the blood pressure. That is, they are central sympatholytics. They act on the central mechanisms like in the thalamus and hypothalamus. And then ganglion blockers, they block the ganglia to block the sympathetic transmission, and that is how they reduce the blood pressure. Then the adrenergic neuron blocker. Then more popular ones, they are the beta and alpha blockers like labetalol, carvedilol. Then beta blockers, propranolol. Propranolol has ruled the world since about 40 years, and now it is replaced by the cardioselective beta blockers like metoprolol and atenolol. Then alpha blockers like glazocin, they are also sometimes used. Then come the group of calcium channel blockers. They are the verapamil, amlodipine and nifedipine. Now out of these calcium channel blockers, amlodipine is a wonderful drug. Now almost every patient nowadays, almost every aged patient above the age of 50, you will find amlodipine is one drug in the combination of antihypertensive drugs the patient is taking. And then there is a group of vasodilators like adrenaline, minoxidil, sodium nitroprusside. These were popular earlier, but nowadays they are used as per the cases. Sodium nitroprusside is used in severe hypertension. So this is the classification of antihypertensive drugs. In this diagram, we can see that various drugs, group of drugs, they are acting on the various sites. Some are acting central sympatholytics, they are acting in the brain. Then some are acting on the heart. Beta blockers, they reduce the work of heart, so reduce the blood pressure. Then angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, etc. So these are acting at different sites. Now we come to diuretics. So first group is thiazides. Now thiazides, the drugs in this group are hydrochlorothiazide, chlorothiazidone. Then there are some other polythiazides, etc. The mechanism is there are 2-3 mechanisms. One is the diuresis, definitely, because they reduce the plasma volume by about 5 to 15% and reduce the blood volume, so reduce the blood pressure. Also, they reduce the sodium content of the vascular smooth muscle. This is very important. By decreasing the sodium content of the vascular smooth muscle, they reduce the stiffness as well as they reduce the response of the vascular smooth muscle to the circulating catecholamines. That is the sympathetic catecholamines like adrenaline, noradrenaline. They are circulating in our blood. So they are acting on the smooth muscle of the blood vessel and they are constricting it, causing raised blood pressure. So these drugs, they will reduce the sodium content and they will reduce the sensitivity of these vascular smooth muscle to the catecholamines. So that is how they are having the antihypertensive action. Now their adverse effects, as they reduce the sodium, they will cause hypokalemia. They increase the uric acid level. They alter the lipid profile of the body and then they cause hyperglycemia. They may cause impotence also. So these are some of the adverse effects which are seen in some patients. Then there are high ceiling diuretics like furosemide or torsemide. In fact, these cannot be called as antihypertensive drug because their effect lasts for about 1 to 2 hours. Torsemide may show diuresis for a longer period, but however, they just reduce the blood volume, which can be easily compensated by the body. So the antihypertensive effect is lost as soon as the body compensates for the loss of fluid from the body. So they are better used for treatment of edemas like chronic renal failure or refractory congestive heart failure, etc. So excessive fluid retention is their indication. Then there are some potassium sparing diuretics. They are mild diuretic drugs and they can also be used in hypertension. Then the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. Now these three groups, converting enzyme inhibitors or receptor blockers or direct renin antagonists. These are the drugs which are acting on the renin activating system. So they are grouped together. Now these ACE inhibitors, they are the preferred drugs in hypertension nowadays. ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers. Now they block ACE inhibitors, they block the enzyme, angiotensin converting enzyme. That is a kinase 2 type of enzyme, and this enzyme converts angiotensin 1 into 2. So a potent vasoconstrictor is formed, and secondly, it also breaks bradykinin. This ACE enzyme, this is also responsible for breakdown of bradykinin substance P, the inflammatory substances in our body. So these drugs produce decrease in the angiotensin 2 level, so decrease the chances of raising the blood pressure, and secondly they increase the bradykinin level in the body. These drugs are captopril, enalapril, lisinopril, ramipril, then fosinopril, etc. So these are very popular drugs. Mechanism of action: they cause inhibition of angiotensin 2 synthesis in plasma, vessels, heart, kidney, lungs, everywhere they block this enzyme. Secondly, they also reduce the peripheral vascular resistance. They decrease the sympathetic flow. They increase the bradykinin levels. By reducing peripheral vascular resistance, they decrease the blood pressure. By increasing the bradykinin levels, they cause increased vasodilatation because bradykinin is a vasodilator. So they all again reduce the blood pressure. Then they also decrease the secretion of aldosterone. This is very important because aldosterone causes sodium water retention in our body. And in many hypertensives, aldosterone levels are high. So by decreasing the aldosterone level also, they lose sodium and water, and therefore they reduce the blood pressure. So these are the summarized actions of ACE inhibitors. Now captopril as a prototype drug, we will see it is a sulfhydryl compound. It reduces the blood pressure by reducing total peripheral resistance, large arteries and arterioles are dilated. Then both systolic and diastolic, both the blood pressures are decreased. There is no postural hypotension which is seen with the sympatholytic agents centrally acting. Then there is no reflex tachycardia also, because they do not cause severe vasodilatation. Then there is a reduced venous return, reduced pulmonary arterial pressure, and left atrial filling pressure is reduced. Because the venous return is reduced, the left atrial filling pressure will also reduce. All these actions, they are very useful in congestive heart failure patients. Renal blood flow is maintained due to dilatation. Then the cerebral coronary circulations, they are not compromised. Cerebral circulation is well maintained, as well as the coronary arteries are not affected. Basal aldosterone level is decreased, so that is a favorable point. There is, however, increased plasma renin, angiotensin 1 and angiotensin 1,7. So this is obvious, because if angiotensin 1 is not converted to 2, then it will remain in the body, the substrate will remain. So it will raise, and then there will be decrease in microalbuminuria. It is one of the actions of captopril or these ACE inhibitors, that they decrease the microalbuminuria, which is also useful in diabetic patients. There is 70% bioavailability by oral dose. So captopril is well absorbed, then partly metabolized and partly excreted in the urine. Adverse effects, almost similar adverse effects are seen with all the ACE inhibitors. There is first dose hypotension. This is very important. Whenever we advise this drug to the patient for the first time, we have to advise him to take the drug and just lie down on the bed, because if he takes the drug and go on walk, then he may fall down because of the hypotension. The first dose of this drug is known to cause sudden hypotension, so we have to take care. Then it causes dry cough because of bradykinin, etc. Then it can also cause angioedema, that is also known. It causes dysgeusia, that is the altered taste, and more important than that is, it is a fetopathic drug which cannot be given in pregnant ladies, because they can cause fetal abnormalities. Then it also causes headache, dizziness, granulocytopenia, then proteinuria. Then it can also cause acute renal failure. So it is contraindicated in bilateral renal artery stenosis, because it can cause ARF. So these are the adverse effects of these ACE inhibitors. Then there are some contraindications, as we have discussed. It is a fetopathic drug, so it is absolutely contraindicated in pregnancy in all trimesters. Then in renal artery stenosis, then previous angioedema, if there is a history, then it should be avoided. And sometimes if there is a known case of hypersensitivity, then also it is contraindicated. In patients with impaired renal function or hypovolemia or dehydration, ACE inhibitors should be given very cautiously. It can also have some drug interactions. Now this is a comparative chart showing different properties of different ACE inhibitors like captopril, enalapril, lisinopril. Now we can find that captopril and lisinopril, these are the two active drugs. Means once given, they start their action. Whereas enalapril, posinopril, perindopril and ramipril, these are the prodrugs. So prodrugs will first get metabolized, then their active metabolite forms, and then that active metabolite will give us the antihypertensive effect. So coming to the uses of ACE inhibitors, hypertension, of course, very safe in diabetic hypertensives, asthma, then peripheral vascular diseases. There is no postural hypertension, etc. There is no effect on the plasma lipids also. So that is very good drug for hypertension. Then it is also a very good drug or first line drug for congestive heart failure, because of the improved hemodynamics it causes. It causes arteriovenous dilatation, decrease the preload, decrease the afterload, decrease the right atrial pressure, etc. So it also decreases the systemic vascular resistance, which is very important in the congestive heart failure or a failing heart. Then it increases the sodium water elimination by anti-aldosterone action, so that is also very important. So by all these actions, it increases the exercise capacity of the person who is having congestive heart failure. That is relaxing thing for him. Also, very importantly, it causes reversal of the left ventricular hypertrophy, which is very common in the congestive heart failure patients. Then it inhibits the remodeling of the heart, which is a pathophysiological process in the congestive heart. Then it causes suppression of the apoptosis. Some cells are lost because of congestive heart failure, so that is also prevented by this, and fibrosis is also prevented. So, in short, it prevents the degenerative processes going on in the heart due to chronic heart failure, and it protects the heart. So, it is very important drug, and hence it is the first drug of choice for congestive heart failure. And you can see that the mortality of congestive heart patient will decrease by 20% by use of these drugs. So that is all about the ACE inhibitors and the diuretics used in hypertension. We will see the other drugs in the next lecture.